welcome everybody. Thank you for coming out tonight to the League of Women Voters Forum. I'm David Marin, I'll be the moderator. A couple of quick rules. There are bathrooms in the back in the foyer if you need to go during the forum. We're going to, we randomly assigned where the candidates are sitting. The questions come from you, so raise your hand and our volunteers will bring you an index card. You can write as many questions as you want tonight. We'll probably only get a handful of them in, but we'll try to group around questions. The best thing you can do for me is make it legible so I can make sure I read it properly. We do not allow applause unless I tell you it's okay to give them a round. So please hold any enthusiasm, comment to yourself, and we'll acknowledge all the candidates. We just want to treat everybody fairly. The League is videotaping this, and it'll be up on our website in a day or two, as soon as that's ready. And again, thank you all for coming out tonight, and thank you to the candidates. Teo, ready? Everybody good? Here we go. Good evening, welcome to the League of Women Voters Forum for the candidates for the Congressional District 26. For those who, the district basically covers parts of the Santa Paula, Fillmore, Oxnard, Camarillo. It goes into East County as far as Thousand Oaks, even into parts of LA County. So thank you all for coming out tonight. At this time, it's my pleasure to introduce the president of our co-host, the Ventura County alumni of Delta Sigma Theta chapter. And please welcome Lakeisha White.
Thank you very much. Yes, as you mentioned, I am Lakeisha White, the president of the Ventura County Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. For nearly half a century, our chapter has been a dedicated pillar to this community right here in Ventura County. We were founded globally in 1913 on the campus of Howard University, and our sisterhood was built on a foundation of scholarship, service, and most importantly for tonight's forum, social action. Our very first public act was participating in the Women's Suffrage March. And that fire for advocacy still continues today. In Ventura County, we are deeply committed to voter education, civic engagement. We believe that a healthy democracy requires active participation, which is why we are so proud to be partnering with the League of Women Voters. Today, or together, we can work tirelessly to ensure that our community is registered, informed, and empowered at the polls. So tonight, we are with you. We're here to listen, to engage, and to continue our legacy of social action. We look forward to hearing your visions for the future of our community that we have personally served for nearly 50 years. Have a good time.
And we're also going to have some welcome remarks from Cheryl Collard. She is co-president of the League of Women Voters.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for making time to come out this evening to this important candidate forum. You may know that the League of Women Voters also has a long history, much like our co-sponsoring organization. We have spent 65 years in this Ventura County doing candidate forums like we're doing tonight. The League is a nonprofit organization. We are also an unbiased group. We do not endorse or support a candidate, but we do want to educate you and introduce you to the candidates. Very important distinction. We will also be working in the back. We have a table set up. If you have questions about the League, we're happy to answer that. But again, I would echo a thank you to those who have been involved. We are hoping that you will use this information tonight to cast your ballot. We're here to get you over the finish line and getting to your ballot and getting this election forward. So thank you to all for coming and for our support from our co-sponsor this evening, Delta Sigma Theta. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to start with opening statements in just a moment. Sonia will be going first. We'll go down the line, and then at the end of the evening, when we do closing statements, we'll go in the reverse order. Before we begin, though, I want to emphasize that the League of Women Voters never endorses or opposes individual candidates or parties. Unfortunately, a flyer was circulated with a photo of Chris Espinosa promoting tonight's event, and that flyer prominently displayed the league's logo at the top. This unauthorized use may have suggested to some that an endorsement by the league was of his campaign. We appreciate the Espinosa campaign quickly removing this flyer from their sites, and just as always for all candidates, the use of the league logo is not permitted without approval, and use of any text that suggests endorsement is also not allowed. So glad to get that done, and we can go ahead and get started. Sonia, your timer is right there. You have 1.5 minutes when you're ready.
Okay, well, good evening, everyone. Welcome. Thanks for coming. My name is Dr. Sonia Kacker, and I'm running for Congress right here in the 26th District of California. We have an open seat, so this is an exciting opportunity. I was born outside of Washington, D.C., and I came to California almost 40 years ago to attend Stanford University, and I earned my medical degree at the University of California, Irvine. I'm board-certified family medicine physician, and for the last 26 years, I've been working at the Westlake Village Urgent Care Occupational and Family Medical Clinic, which is the last remnants of the old Westlake Hospital. I have treated this community, people from every background, every party, every political affiliation, every walk of life. And I'm also a small business owner. The clinic is a small business, and part of what we might talk about is the corporatization of all different avenues, which is a disservice to the community. But I'm also a Thousand Oaks mom. I raised my kids here, and they are both also pursuing careers in medicine. So I'm not a career politician. I'm here because I want to make a change. And my priorities are affordability, accessible health care, women's health, treating homelessness and mental health like the public health emergency that they are. And my job in urgent care is to stop small problems from turning into emergencies, and I can see that things are not going the way I think is the best way. So I feel it's my obligation to step in.
I'm going to have to stop you there.
Thank you.
Our next candidate is Jackie Irwin.
Well, good evening, everybody, and it's great to see so many engaged residents out here today. I'm so happy to be back in Oxnard, which I represented in the State Assembly for 8 years. I've lived in this community for 30 years and had the privilege to represent parts of it for over 20 years. And I have been focused on solving problems. During the early days of COVID, one of the biggest concerns was lack of information, so I organized weekly town halls in Spanish and English. I ran an antibody study with Oxnard Fire to find which communities were most vulnerable during that time. And I also helped clinicas and other FQHCs get vaccines. After the accident at Rice Avenue, which tragically took 3 lives, I fought and secured for funding for over $120 million to build the railroad overpass. This current project is providing good, high-paying union jobs right now. After the Borderline shooting, I worked to get guns out of the hands of dangerous people and strengthened red flag laws, which allowed family members to petition the court to remove guns from people who might be having mental breakdowns. I secured funding to open the Carmen Ramirez Justice Center so that domestic violence victims could receive services right here in Oxnard instead of having to go to Ventura. And when we heard from the business community that the military base was in need of engineers, I got the funding to open an engineering school at Cal State Channel Islands. I love this community and look forward to fighting for you.
Thank you. Our next candidate is Sam Gallucci.
Thank you, and thank you all for allowing me to be here tonight. Sam Gallucci. I'm 65-year resident of California, my entire life, 40-year resident of Ventura County. The first 20 years, I raised my family, served my family, and lived in Thousand Oaks, Westlake, where I was at the very beginning of the tech industry in 1981, and rose to become an executive vice president, general manager of a major company called PeopleSoft. In the second 20 year, I moved to the city of Oxnard and became a pastor. And as a pastor, I solved critical problems in this city. First is homelessness. I started a charity that addressed homelessness in this Ventura County. And with Hotel and Gabriel's House, we have rescued thousands off the streets. I have 2 books on that topic, A Love That Nobody Wants and More Than Animals, that shows how we've addressed that problem caring for widows and orphans, caring for aged out foster kids, and also trafficked women. I started a second charity to address the farm workers crisis, and we care for farm workers here for the last 12 years, providing critical services and resources to those migrant workers and also caring for a number of their children. And I also started a tutoring center because so many of our children are not getting educated. I'm running because I love my county, and we need to address the real problems of the cost of living, the fact that our kids are not being educated, and to give parental rights back, and so many other things. I'm running to give the seat back.
Thank you, Sam.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next candidate is Chris Espinosa.
Good evening. Thank you all for being here, and thank you to the League for creating space for a real conversation about the issues that are impacting our community. I'm Chris Espinosa. I'm running for Congress because I believe this community deserves a representative who understands the lived realities day to day of working people and also has the federal policy experience to turn action into legislative change. I have been committed to social justice my entire life in this community. I grew up in Ventura County. I have lived here for 25 years. And at the age of 14, I was in the fields of Oxnard, standing side by side with Dolores Huerta, fighting for justice, for fair wages, for the right to organize with the United Farm Workers. I'm committed to addressing, as I have my entire career, social justice issues, including immigration reform, healthcare, housing, and climate and environmental justice. I spent nearly 20 years in Washington, D.C., both within the U.S. Congress as a senior staff member for a representative and a congressional committee addressing all of those issues, and with national organizations that impact advocacy at the federal level. I believe this community deserves a representative with courage, someone who will not only fight in the halls of Congress, but stand side by side with the community, and that's what I'm committed to doing.
Thank you. Our next candidate is Daniel Miller.
Hi, I'm Daniel Miller. So much to say, yet so little time. Who is this guy named Daniel Miller? Maybe you haven't seen me around. I have been around campaigning. Oxnard's a beautiful place. There's a nice Mexican restaurant down the road. Seafood, Mexican I want to try out pretty soon. So I have a BA in public policy from Evergreen State College up in the state capital of Olympia, Washington. I also attended the University of Washington in Seattle, Washington. I had a small business that was really popular, jam-packed with people, sometimes called New England Collectibles. That was really fun, and I still miss it to this day. So I'm a businessman, actor, songwriter. So I'm also an actor, and I'm a member of SAG-AFTRA. And I have some memorable roles where I played a police officer, got shot on screen, fell over on the sidewalk in the pouring rain. That was something to behold. My dad was a pastor. I helped with many different things like community dinners, Thanksgiving dinners. I've studied climate shenanigans. I know a lot about climate change. Kevin Ranker, he was in my community. Anyways, I know about a lot of stuff. We don't have much time. Daniel Miller for Congress, please look at danielmillerforcongress.com. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next candidate is Michael Kozlow.
Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Michael Kozlow, and I'm an Air Force veteran running for Congress because too many people in our community feel like Washington has stopped listening and stopped delivering. Families are working harder than ever, yet falling behind. Costs keep rising, while common sense solutions seem stuck in gridlock. I'm not running to be part of the noise. I'm running to focus on results. We need practical leadership that puts our district first, lowering costs for working families, protecting access to quality health care, strengthening public safety, and investing in an economy that rewards meritocracy, not mediocrity. That means supporting small businesses, improving infrastructure, and making sure our schools prepare for the next generation to succeed. But just as important, we need accountability. Government should be transparent, efficient, and responsive to the people it serves, not driven by the special interest or partisan extremes. I believe in bringing people together to solve problems, not divide them for political gain. Because at the end of the day, we're not Republicans or Democrats first. We're neighbors, we're families, and Americans who want a better future. 31 years law enforcement, 33 years in the Air Force. I ran the California Air National Guard for a while, and I sit on the National Small Business Association Leadership Council, advocating for small businesses nationwide. And I'm a small businessman, been running my business for probably about 9 years now, with high visibility, high profile investigations across the nation. So thank you for being here and your time tonight. Thank you again.
Thank you. Our next candidate is Liam Hernandez.
Good evening, everyone. Wanted to give a special thank you to the League of Women Voters for hosting this event. My name is Liam Andres O'Neill Hernandez. I'm running for Congress here in California's 26th Congressional District because I believe working people deserve a strong voice in Washington. I'm not a career politician. I help run my family's small business, Better Mattress. Through that work, I've dealt directly with manufacturers, seen supply chain issues through the Port of Los Angeles and the Port of Long Beach. This gives me special insight into costs rising and other aspects of our economy. I'm also continuing my education, studying political science locally here at Oxnard Community College, and also studying business at Mission College in Silmar. I believe this is essential because public service requires preparation and hard work. My campaign is focused on bold ideas that put people first. These ideas are my support of Medicare for all.
Liam, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to stop you. Your time's up.
Apologize for that.
You can get your points in later, I'm sure. Jackie, you're up first on the next question. We're going to talk about climate change. So as this person points out, along with others, climate change is one of our biggest concerns in the community, especially for the younger generation. And Ventura County is, of course, a coastal county worried about sea level rise and other concerns. So, Jackie, what policies would you support in Congress, and tell us about work you have done in the area of climate change?
I would say that one of the biggest issues that's facing Ventura County is climate change, and you mentioned sea level rise, but also we have to look at the fires. We had the Thomas Fire, we had, I represented the Palisades, and those fires have been really devastating. Really, the weather conditions have really led to devastating fires in this area. I was the person that negotiated the Assembly's version of the reauthorization of cap and trade. And cap and trade makes sure that California continues to meet its emission goals, which is trying to get to zero emissions by 2040. And basically it does it in a market-based way that makes sure that polluters pay to lower electricity costs in California. We are a leader in California with our climate program. Washington is going to be linking with us. Quebec is going to be linking with us. But we need to acknowledge in the United States that climate change is real. We have really lost our leadership position on climate change.
Thank you. Chris, you're up next. Same question to you about climate change. What policies would you support and work for? What work have you done?
Thank you so much. This is the body of work that I've devoted most of my career to. I was the legislative director for climate and energy at one of the most prominent advocacy organizations for the environment, Earth Justice. I developed federal strategies to address the climate crisis, lower carbon emissions from multiple sectors. And I can tell you unequivocally, cap and trade does not work. It just creates sacrifice zones and concentrates pollution in communities of color. And that's why most of the Democratic caucus opposes cap and trade. We need comprehensive, environmental justice-oriented climate solutions that do not create sacrifice zones like what we see in South Oxnard, where there are concentrations of pollution, We can do that through investments like we did with the IRA, and we can do that with mandates on sectoral requirements to reduce carbon emissions.
Thank you. Sam, you're up next. Same question about climate change.
I think most residents of this district would say that California does a really good job in this area, probably leads the country. I would say the number one thing that has been a failure is NEM 3 in solar, an absolute abject failure. We used to have in our solar, and I have solar on the roof, I have an electric car, you used to get 100% offset on our roofs. And when we're talking about all this theoretical stuff for most of the folks in the room, that was very, very real. And when I got my solar, 100% offset, it saved me a fortune. It allowed me to get an electric car, and the numbers work. Now, our state has done NEM 3, which limits the amount of offset off your roof on solar significantly. So for most of us, it does not pencil out anymore. So we now sit in a situation where, in a practical reality, that's one of the biggest issues. But frankly, climate change in California is not the number one issue, it's the immigration crisis.
Thank you. And up next is Sonia. Sonia, the question is climate change. What policies would you support? What work have you done?
It's a great question, and I'll tell you, my evacuation bag has been packed for years, and I wish it wasn't the case. Climate change is real, and it's unfortunate what's happening where people can't even afford fire insurance. We feel like there's a constant threat. We have to be packed and ready and run for our lives at times. I've done that at least 3 times. And what bothers me is the way the current administration has just dismantled the EPA and other science-based organizations, NOAA, Fire Research. The assault on science, truth, education at the federal level is something that I'm going to fight for. And I feel like I want to bring a voice more as a physician's voice saying, hey, environmental health is public health. This affects our longevity, what we eat, what we drink. That affects our longevity and how healthy we are. We have increased asthma rates. These things cause health problems, and I need to bring that and say, look, this is not a partisan issue. This is for the health of our country.
Thank you. Liam, please share your thoughts on climate change and your background.
As a person who runs a small business, I've seen firsthand how climate change can affect not only my entire company, but companies around me, either flooding roads in the San Fernando Valley to make it undrivable. So in this, I support the Green New Deal in its entirety, but with a special focus on infrastructure improvements, as well as transportation, and I also, especially for this district, support putting a light rail line to connect the western part of our district to the eastern part of our district, because as a lot of people know, there's not a lot of transportation in the eastern part of our district, and there's very little in the west. When I work in Santa Clarita, I have to take 5 buses just to get back to Camarillo, where I live, instead of going through the 126, because there's no bus that goes through that area. I think that's a big way of making green, less cars.
Thank you, Liam. And Michael, we'll head to you on the climate change.
And thank you again. I just want to say that as a federal agent for 31 years who used to investigate violations of environmental law and environmental crimes throughout the nation. And that being said, we do have an environmental issue, but it's being perpetuated by cap and trade. The likelihood of getting zero emissions in the state of California or throughout the United States is very unlikely. And I think the push is for 2030, 2031 for us to be able to meet that goal. If you recognize, as Sam was talking about earlier about solar, the point is that with the electric batteries that we have right now, the cost to disposition those once the batteries have been utilized, and the mining for that, as far as the lithium and the magnesium and the other things too, is also causing an environmental issue. We're offshoring, even though California has one of the best records for that, we're offshoring a lot of that emission off to China, to Mexico, and other places. So we've got to work collaboratively together with other countries. Thank you.
Thank you. Daniel, we'll wrap up this question with you.
Well, so climate change. What is it?
and who's behind it. I mean, we could have a whole seminar for three days on this down there on Wilshire, which I went to a seminar on this for 3 days down in Wilshire with a lot of speakers. So what really bothers me about a lot of climate change things is, you know, it's a lot of these fees and regulations are making it hard on the citizens of California. California is overtaxed. People are leaving lickety-split. So a lot of these fees and regulations are really not good. Also, you know, people like King Caldera out of Harvard, they're doing these geoengineering experiments, which makes it so basically climate change, although might be sort of real, a lot of it's a hoax also. So, but I'd love to have follow-up questions on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. Sam, you're going to be up next on this first question. I'm sure you've all been expecting this one on ICE and immigration. So, Sam, share with us your thoughts about ICE tactics. I mean, do you think it should be dismantled? Do you think they should wear masks? But also, I think let's broaden it and talk about your views on immigration. I mean, should there be a pathway for immigrants? That type of thing, especially dreamers. So ICE and immigration.
Yes, absolutely. This is personal for me. I've reached over 3,000 of these undocumented immigrants, and I've cared for them for the last 12 years. Everyone talks about these issues. I've actually done things. My wife and I care for them. We have well over 100, maybe close to 200 that are in our community, in our church. My wife cares for over 500 of the kids 3 days a week. That's where she is this night. This is personal for me. All these workers need to stay, the criminals need to go. It's just that simple. We have kicked the can down the road. Whether Democrats have been in power or Republicans, nothing has gotten done. We need some reform for ICE. I think it's, I don't support abolishing any law enforcement agency, but there needs to be reforms. We also need to overturn the wicked bill that says that when you have a criminal in our jail system, you know, right now in the state, they let them go. And so ICE has to go into the community and take my people. And so that's something we need to address. When I get to Congress, I will address this issue. All the merit-based workers will be here legally, and then we just focus on the criminals. We have over 30,000 detainers right now for criminals. And if you do the math, it's likely double or triple that we have in our state. That's how we solve this problem.
That was my fault. Shouldn't have let you go that long, but thank you. Daniel, you're up next.
Okay. So the trouble with this forum, you know, we don't really have enough time to talk about the issues. So I am concerned about affordability, the economy, and the citizens of California being overtaxed at a dangerous level. I want to address the ICE also. And before you pass judgment on me about the climate change, please investigate Harvard, Stanford, Ken Caldera. They're all involved in a lot of geoengineering projects that happen. And so it's so complex, climate change and response to climate change. But as far as ICE, I mean, do I want to get tomatoes thrown at me, or should I tell it like it is? Well, tonight I guess I'll tell it like it is. Did you know the governor of our state, he is spending a terrible amount of money on illegal immigrants. And I need to hold this closer to my mouth, I guess. A lot of our tax dollars are going to illegal immigrants.
Daniel, I'll have to cut you off there. So,
What happened?
Daniel, I'll have to stop you. Your time's up. Please keep an eye on the timer, candidates. Sonia, you're up next. Tell us about your views on immigration, supporting a pathway for undocumented immigrants, including dreamers, and your views on ICE.
Thank you. And, you know, I believe in strong borders, but I think that ICE is not the solution. We have people who have been here, and it's not fair what they're doing. And you have to understand there's a humanitarian aspect to this. But let's just say you can't even see that. Think about it in terms of how it's affecting the economy. This county has lost $5 to $8 billion in lost crops. And what does that do? That increases the prices at the grocery store, destabilizes the workforce. So even if you have no humanitarian bone in your body, it's affecting the cost of living for everyone. These people work here, they pay taxes, and they get the least of the benefits from the system. I think ICE should go after the real criminals. They need something to do. There's a lot of things that they can do, but taking working people out of their work is just wrong.
Thank you. Michael, same question to you on undocumented immigrants and a pathway for them and ICE.
This is a particular area near and dear to my heart. As I pointed out before, I'm a man of the rule of law, and I also recognize that illegal immigration obviously falls under 8 U.S.C. 13, 23, and 24. So they're very, very specific, but it needs revision. And as it's been pointed out, we need to revise the laws as they stand right now to make them fair. And that's really what it comes down to. I've been working for the last 4 months with 40 different congressmen and women right now on a bipartisan basis to revise the immigration rules and laws. And you can look it up yourself even now. It's called the Dignity Act of 2025, which addresses the dreamers, addresses the border and enhancing that and having more money and funding provided to that. But at the same time, more importantly, the work visa program that enables individuals that have been here before 2021, not a pathway to citizenship, not amnesty, to continue to work here under the right laws and the rules and regulations that allow them to stay here, and that if they do not adhere to that, they're going to be leaving.
Thank you, Michael. And Jackie, please share with us your views on ICE, what should be done, and also with undocumented immigrants in a pathway.
Now, ICE under Trump has become has a bloated budget. It's a lawless agency that's racially profiling people in our communities and across the country. Agents have almost no training, no real background checks, and function recklessly and all without accountability. I would work to claw back the excessive funding and get rid of unqualified agents and hold this administration accountable. At the same time, I do support a controlled border, and I support fixing our broken immigration system. This is personal to me. I am the daughter of immigrants, and we need immigration reform that is based on reality and aligned with our values. One where hard-working individuals have a pathway to citizenship. We need to be a country that welcomes immigrants and those seeking refuge. It's appalling that our dreamers and DACA recipients remain in limbo. These individuals are ready to contribute to this country, and we should be welcoming them.
Thank you. And let's see, next up is Liam. So share with us your views.
This issue is pretty personal to me. As I said, I live in Camarillo, and Camarillo was one of the first areas to be hit by these aggressive military-style ICE raids. Locally, we had a member of the armed forces detained, and also somebody fleeing from ICE out of fear, probably didn't even know why they were chasing him, ran on a roof and over, and later died. These incidents are unacceptable, and that is why I am in full support of complete abolition of ICE, as well as tracking down any one of them that committed crimes, especially such as murder, assault, like we've seen all over social media, particularly in Minnesota, but it's not just there. We have local groups here in Oxnard that are tracking them to make sure they don't harm our community. Please support them.
Thank you, Liam. We're going to go to Chris for our wrap-up on this question.
ICE needs to be abolished, full stop. They are not keeping any of our communities safe. They put us all at risk. They are violating the Constitution. They have 18 people so far this year have died in ICE custody. We can have fair and humane immigration enforcement that is appropriate. We don't need ICE to do it. ICE wasn't a part of our immigration enforcement framework until the mid-2000s. We can have a structure that makes sense. In order to have that, we need fair and humane immigration laws, which we do not have. And that's why I'm supporting redoing our immigration system, ensuring that it is equitable, that it is non-discriminatory, that it keeps families together, that it is responsive to our economic needs and reflects our values. But that ICE cannot be a part of that. They are violating people's constitutional rights, and I oppose it.
Thank you. Chris, you can hold on to the microphone because you're up first for this next question. So one of the most important actions of a Congress, of course, is voting on the budget, deciding how to spend billions and trillions of dollars actually. So Chris, if you were elected, what are your views about how to balance the federal budget, deal with spending, deal with some of the many areas like Medicare and those things? So share with us your philosophy and how you expect to get things done to bring down the deficits.
I would like Congress to do its job and actually pass budgets. We have not had appropriations bills through regular order since my 20 years in Washington, D.C. That's what we need to get back to. Unfortunately, Congress is broken and stalemated, and we need to get back to the function of regular order. We have enough resources in this country. We're the wealthiest nation on earth. We can meet the needs of our community. We can make sure that everyone is served. We can have Medicare for all. We can have free public college. All we need to do is get corporations and billionaires to pay their fair share. They continue to bilk the system. They lobby Congress in a way that abridges the needs of the people. And we need to constrain them and have a fair tax system again. We need to stop corporate loopholes, end these preferential tax breaks for energy companies that just use that money to misguide the public and pollute our neighborhoods.
Thank you. Liam, share with us your philosophy about dealing with the federal budget and particular actions you would try to take if elected.
Yeah, so I agree. The way the federal budget has been run is just atrocious. If I ran my business the way they run the budget, I would be bankrupt tomorrow. A couple of things that we could do right off the bat is all this money that is being spent right now in Iran uselessly could go to pay for Medicare for all, universal child care, paid family and medical leave nationwide. On top of that, any aid going to countries who are openly using it to either murder, attack, or influence other countries that are neighbors to them, in my view, it's just a waste of money. We have more pressing issues here at home that need to be dealt with. People are literally starving in parts of our nation. They need help.
Thank you. Sam, you're up next. So I think the other microphone was yours, but Sam, on top of everything, I just want you to know here.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
So Sam, share with us your views about how to balance the federal budget. What kind of work would you do to get spending under control, particular programs, et cetera?
So when you are a part of running a $2 billion company, you know how to manage a budget. And all of you know that you don't spend more than you make. It doesn't work very well. And I love how we blame everybody else but the federal government or the state government itself. It's responsible for itself. We need to balance the budget. And as far as I'm concerned, the question is, can we afford it? And if we can't, we need to find something to cut to move it to something else. I am for a lot of great programs. But right now, we have so much fraud, waste, and abuse in our federal government. It's estimated probably we can balance the budget just looking at that alone. So while we continue to want to spend more money, you all know you can only spend so much on your credit card till it's maxed out, and you can only spend so much before you literally lose everything. So it really comes down to balancing the budget and ensuring that we take care of the fraud so that we have the money we need.
Thank you. And Jackie, you're up next on this question about dealing with federal budget spending.
Thank you. It's critical to deal with the deficit in a responsible way. The debt right now is larger than the GNP. We should close tax loopholes in ways that make sure that the wealthy and corporations are paying their share. When the wealthy do not sell stocks, they never pay taxes on them. They just borrow against it and then pass it on to the next generation. And HR 1 is the biggest wealth shift in history, and it costs billions of dollars with no plan to pay for it. Trump and his billionaire cronies and mega corporations received record tax breaks, and the cost shift was to working people with cuts to health care. We will be cutting Medicaid, ACA subsidies, and there's a back doorway now that Medicare is going to be cut, and we're cutting food assistance. We need to return to an economy that works for working people and put their interests before the interests of billionaires.
Thank you. Daniel, you're up next. Share with us your views on how to reduce the deficit, deal with spending.
So first, let me just clear up some inside baseball. I support legal immigration. I was just not supporting illegal immigration. When I get to Washington, D.C., I want to serve on the Finance Committee and other committees like that. So there is a lot of waste, fraud, and abuse happening, at the federal level, at the state level. I do support, of course, food assistance and health care. But we need to look at some of this waste, fraud, and abuse. I want to look at ways that Congress can help reduce or get rid of property tax, at least for people that own their own home, like Ohio does, Florida does. The Fed, we need a new Fed chairman, Ron Paul, maybe you're familiar with him. He wrote a book called In the Fed. I haven't read that book, but I know we need to look at shenanigans going on with the Fed. And so, thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. Sonia, you're up next. Same question to you. What would you do about spending, federal budget? Go ahead.
Thank you. And I think what this amounts to is accountability and transparency. If you want to know how to find the truth in anything, you follow the money. And there is fraud and waste in almost every single system in government. And you have to ask who's benefiting from what. And even amongst our political leaders, we have to hold them accountable. Who's supporting you? Who do you owe? Me personally, I'm 100% grassroots. I don't know anyone anything. And I don't have any special interests other than the interests of this district. And I think that when you're playing politics, everyone has a different group that they're accountable to rather than their constituents. And I think there needs to be a lot of reform in both how people are elected, term limits, and full transparency in terms of funding, which major groups are funding who.
Thank you. Michael, we'll wrap up with you on this one. So share with us your views about how to reduce the deficit, what your priorities are with spending, etc.
Yeah, thank you again. How many of you can balance a checkbook? You don't have to raise your hands. I mean, Congress should be expected to do the same thing. There's no doubt about that. And they shouldn't be getting paid when they can't meet the budget. And they go into the CR, the continuing resolution. I spent 31 years of my life, and continuing to do that right now, investigating fraud, waste, and abuse matters throughout the Department of Defense. That hasn't stopped. Matter of fact, I was asked by Steve Hilton and his group to help him create something called CalDoge. I don't know if you've heard of that before, but it's continuing on to identify billions and billions and billions of dollars out there in fraud across homelessness issues, as far as the train to nowhere. That money can be better utilized by every single person in this room, and every person in this county, and every person in this state. So there has to be, the key word is accountability, folks. We've got to have accountability in government operations in the budget and make sure that we are doing the audits that are necessary to hold that degree of accountability. Thank you.
Thank you. Daniel, we're going to start the next question with you. We have quite a few questions, candidates, on health care. I'm going to read you several of them and then I'll give you the actual question. But we have people who are asking about Medicare for all. We're asking about the ACA subsidies, because many people are mentioning that their premiums have skyrocketed under that. People are concerned about access to health care and mental health services, especially for vulnerable populations, and what you would do to tackle some of these problems. So, Daniel, the question to you is, share with us your passion about healthcare. What are the areas that you would work on to make healthcare more affordable, more available, and more appropriate in our community?
Okay, so I really didn't want to talk about this, but I guess I will. So I care about health care. My mother died of cancer. I was attacked by a German Shepherd in Simi Valley, and because of the medicine that they gave me, I had to spend about 2-3 days in the hospital. So healthcare is important, but what I don't support is, like more of a socialized medicine system. We need to look at, fraud, waste, and abuse, and to come up with money for healthcare. So healthcare is important, but people like, I don't want to get tomatoes thrown at me, but people like, Governor Newsom and stuff, who's going to be running for president in 2028, he's spending our money willy-nilly on all these programs, like the homeless program. A lot of that money, disappeared. Incidentally, the fire money, where did that go? Have you thought about that?
Time's up, Daniel. Thank you. Sonia, same question to you, Sonia, about healthcare. Let's hear from you as far as how you will try to make it more affordable, more available in our community. Please.
Okay, and thank you. And that's one of the main, that's my wheelhouse. And what I've seen over the years is it's becoming more and more expensive and less accessible. When I started my journey, it was when the Westlake Hospital was closing, and that was because Big Corp came, shut it down because it was not profitable, and they did not want that competition in the community. And primary care is cheap, it's affordable, and it works, and it's where these dollars are spent. We spend about $5 trillion a year on healthcare, and it's not going to benefit the doctors and the patients. There's this huge middleman, bureaucracy, monopoly, and legislators are being lobbied by healthcare insurances, big farm, and they're, they have the greatest voice, the loudest voice, and they have the most money, so they're able to control the laws. And so part of it is, it can be done much more efficiently, and I have done it through my own clinic.
Thank you. Liam, share with us how you will make healthcare more affordable and more available.
So this issue is also personal to me. My uncle recently had a widowmaker heart attack. And because of how much money he had, because of the state of the economy, he was afraid to take an ambulance. He took an Uber to the ER because that's $22 compared to the ambulance ride being $9,000 or in that range. Now, thankfully, he's recovered. They did an amazing job over at Henry Mayo in Santa Clarita, but he got a bill for $850,000. We own a small business. We don't really make that much in profit. I'm just going to be honest with you, especially in this economy. That is why I'm in support for Medicare for All unapologetically. We need help.
Thank you. Sam, same question to you about making healthcare more affordable and available.
Well, I support reform to the ACH. That's a great program, but the issue with it is that too much of the money goes directly to the insurance companies. It needs to be reformed. It needs to go to the people itself. We also have a critical issue in pharmacy cost. I mean, it's out of control. We need to address that as well. But for me, there's these big issues, but what do we need here? See, I'm running for you, the people. What do we need in this district? I'm going to focus on that as well. I'm going to listen to all of you because we have a mental illness crisis, we have an affordability crisis, but we also have some very specific issues that we need to address. I think mental illness treatment centers are really important. We need to look at this comprehensively, and I certainly support doing that and making sure that everyone has access to affordable health care.
Thank you. Michael, same question to you.
In my time, I conducted investigations for Anthem and incorporated the insurance company. So I know very, very well what the insurance companies are doing and how they're hurting the beneficiary. More so, I conducted my dissertation at USC in the adverse impacts of Medicare claims on beneficiaries. So I'm very, very knowledgeable about this, and what it really boils down to is that, do you realize that for all of those millions, and actually almost $1 trillion beneficiary claims in Medicare every year across this country, that there's only 1% of that universe that have had denied claims, 1%, that ever appeal it. 1%. And when I looked at that in my dissertation, I found that when it goes up to the third level of appellate review by the administrative law judges, that 76% of those claims were overturned and awarded back to the beneficiary. So Medicare is a mess. It's a nightmare. And one of the first things that I'm going to do when I get into Congress is get that program up and running and accountable, make sure those beneficiaries are paid the way they should have been, and those doctors are being reimbursed for those costs. Thank you.
Thank you. Chris, same question.
Healthcare is a human right, and it should be treated that way. That's why I support Medicare for all. I believe that we need to cover every person in this country. When we went through the COVID pandemic, we saw how we are all put at risk when some in our community have access to healthcare and others don't. Now, as we are fighting for Medicare for all, we need to make sure that we're immediately restoring the cuts to Medicaid. In this community, 1 in 2 Medicaid recipients is a child. That is unconscionable. We need to make sure that we're restoring the ACA premiums. We need to make sure that we're getting political appointees out of personal healthcare decisions, like what we're seeing out of this administration at HHS. So I support Medicare for all. I'm going to fight to make sure that every single person in our community has healthcare coverage. And if you want to know where the waste is, look at who is being funded by the healthcare industry.
Thank you, Chris. Jackie, we'll wrap up with you. Your views on making healthcare more affordable and serving more people by being more available.
Certainly, and this is a big issue. In California, there have been efforts for years to implement single payer, and it has never been successful in spite of support from Governor Newsom and the leaders in the legislature. And the problems are the very high cost initially, people worried about losing their doctors. And the biggest thing is that we would need to get federal waivers, and there's just no way we're going to get it under Trump, and we couldn't have gotten it under Biden either. But we did in California expand Medi-Cal to undocumented people, and we are now at 93% coverage, and we did this over a long period of time by starting with small groups at a time, and first children were added. So that is a model. But right now, we need to fight to reverse the Trump cuts to Medi-Cal, and I'm repeating what Chris says, to Medi-Cal. We need to restore the ACA subsidies, and we need to make sure that we're not cutting Medicare.
Thank you, Jackie. Okay, Michael, we're going to begin the next question with you, and we only have time for probably 2 more questions. So I do think we have several on foreign policy, so I want to give each of you a chance. I'm sure we'll hear different philosophies on foreign policy. So, Michael, certainly right now we're dealing with the war in Iran. Do you support the policy there? But beyond that, there's Israel and Gaza, there's Ukraine, dealing with China, dealing with Russia. So it's a big part of being in Congress. Tell us what your views are of dealing with the world on foreign policy.
Very good question. The world is a mess right now, but it's a very serious issue, and we've got to take it seriously. When I was with the California Air National Guard, I had the opportunity to go over and negotiate a treaty with the Ukrainian government in 2009 to 2011, so I've got that experience. Looking at it from a national perspective, the United States has a national security agenda, and that agenda is set by the President of the United States. So it changes from time to time, but what we need to take a look at is each individual region, what the interests are of this country are, and the war in Iran right now, it's a very, very complex issue, but we recognize from what we've been told that they are, the plutonium enrichment is at 60%. That's weapons grade, folks, and we need to make sure that that doesn't happen because they are an exporter and through proxies of war and terrorism. So that needs to be taken care of as well as the other issues as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Chris, please share your views of the world. China, I mentioned, Israel, Iran, Russia, Ukraine.
That's a lot. Too much to answer in 1 minute. On Iran, this is the most ridiculous, unstrategic war that has ever been undertaken without congressional approval. It's putting us all at risk. It's causing all of our costs to go up. We had a verifiable plan to constrain Iran from achieving nuclear capacity through the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action under the Obama administration. So here we are fighting a needless war, spending $2 billion a day to accomplish what we had already accomplished. Makes no sense, puts us all at risk. What is happening in Gaza is a genocide, it's unjust, and we bear responsibility because those are our arms that are being used to target civilian infrastructure, and we should not accept that. We should work with our partners and ensure that they adhere to humanitarian laws.
Got to stop you, Chris. Thank you. Okay, Jackie, same question to you. Talk about your views and work that you'll try to do in Washington regarding foreign policy and all of these areas.
Well, I think right now, of course, the Iran war is top of mind, and we need to be clear. We can't allow Iran to access nuclear weapons, and acknowledge that they are funding state-sponsored terrorism, and this regime has oppressed the Iranian people and killed thousands of them. However, Trump's war in Iran is chaotic, it is unplanned, there is no clear goal or exit strategy. It's costing us billions of dollars, and we have no allies with us in this conflict. Decisions should be made in partnership with Congress. And then I would say about Ukraine, we should continue to support the democratic Ukraine and stand with the Ukrainian people, and we must share that responsibility with our European allies, but make sure that there is accountability for the dollars that are being spent. We need diplomatic solutions that are not dictated by Putin. Russia cannot be allowed to attack our allies.
Thank you. Liam, same question to you about your views on foreign policy engagement.
Yeah, in my view, the only fraud and abuse in the budget is money going overseas, especially right now to this unconstitutional war in Iran that Congress hasn't approved, and also our money going to countries like Israel, who are in violation of international law right now and are currently, as we speak, bombing in the north and in the south, in Palestine. I just think there's better uses for this money that can be used here at home to solve issues. Again, people are going hungry in the south. There's better things that need to be done here. I support Ukraine because that is the same fight that the Palestinians are having against the state of Israel. Is the same fight they're having against Russia. A bully going after a smaller country with a smaller armed forces that couldn't possibly defend themselves. We need better leadership on this issue, especially by politicians who've been around a long time.
Thank you. Sonia, you'll be up next. Again, Sonia, share with us your views on foreign policy if you were elected, and we're not talking about Iran, Ukraine, China, Russia, Israel.
Thank you. And yes, I believe that we do need a strong national security. However, the power to declare war sits with Congress, and this is just another abuse of power within the current administration. And this goes back to an assault, an authoritarian government, and there needs to be more checks and balances. And the administration stated that they were not going to get into a war, and yet all they're doing is an imperialism agenda, and it's costing us a lot of money, and this is probably going to throw us into a recession very, very soon. And we have a lot of domestic problems and better use for this money. And so I think the promise of America First was broken, and this is not what he campaigned on or anything else like that. And I think we need better leadership, and we need to have balance of power and hold the executive branch accountable.
Thank you. Sam, same question. Share with us your views.
Well, I have a very different opinion. The number one goal, the number one responsibility of the President of the United States is to protect us from foreign and abroad and locally. And every president has had to deal with very difficult issues. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. There are clear objectives. Those objectives are being met, and we now have a blockade, and we need to trust the process. And here's the thing that is so frustrating to me. Our military, no one talks about the incredible job our military is doing. We should be supporting them, we should be honoring them, and we should be rooting for them and praying for them. Because every time we go into these conflicts and we complain about Monday morning quarterbacking. When we have these kinds of issues, Iran is the #1 state sponsor of terror, and we must stop them from getting a nuclear weapon. The can has been kicked down the road. We also need to support, we need that war with Russia done, and we need to support the efforts to get that completed as well.
Thank you. And Daniel, we'll wrap up this question with you. Share your views on foreign policy.
So, foreign policy, it's a big deal. There's a lot that goes into it, a lot of time and stuff. But that's right. We cannot allow Iran to have a nuclear weapon. And at the same time, we need to support Ukraine. And of course, it is true also that the Iranians were really oppressed. They've been oppressed in Iran for far too long. I'm going to get kind of fun for a second. I don't know if anybody realizes it, but in Iran, they actually used to have a pretty Western lifestyle. They had all kind of fashion and all kind of good times there. And then it fell into the wrong hands. So they shouldn't have a nuclear weapon, and my time is up. Have a great day, and thank you.
Thank you. Liam, you're going to be up first on this next question. We have a lot of cards. This is obviously something that's very top of mind for people. Concerns about voting rights, especially the recent Supreme Court ruling. But not just voting rights. Share with us your view about democracy, the right to vote, gerrymandering, as best you can. Just give us your philosophy about these things, including voter ID.
Yeah, this is actually a perfect question, especially given what happened today. If anybody knows, the Democrats in Virginia responded to the gerrymandered efforts by Texas and other red states by making an equal playing field. Their Supreme Court locally at that state decided that the voters' opinions didn't matter today. I oppose gerrymandering in basic forms, but I have evolved because we are literally in a gerrymandering war right now. People in the South, especially people of color, are losing all rights. Alabama, not one Democratic district. Tennessee, not one Democratic district. Louisiana, today, not one Democratic district. We need to fight fire with fire, so that's why I voted for Prop 50, and that's why if I'm elected, I'll have the California government put another prop to make this state all Democratic reps in response to give those minority voters an equal right in this state.
Stop you there. Thank you. Chris, same question to you. Share with us your views about voting rights and voter ID and democracy and access.
Democracy is under threat like we've never seen in our lifetimes. We need to do everything that we can. We should be expanding the franchise, making sure that everyone eligible to vote is actually voting, empower them, not putting onerous voter ID laws in place. What we're seeing from the court is an abomination to the Voting Rights Act. That's why we need to pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Act in Congress, and we need courageous members of Congress who are going to do everything that they can, everything in their power to protect the franchise and to protect voting rights. I worked for a member of Congress named Raul Grijalva. Chairman Grijalva was fearless. I saw him lead a sit-in on the House floor to advance the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. That's the kind of courage we need from our elected officials today. We need to stand up and protect democracy, get money out of politics, and ensure that we have free and fair elections.
Chris. I have stuff there. Michael, same question to you, your views about voting rights, voting access, gerrymandering.
No, I like that word abomination. I mean, it really comes down to, in the state of California, I take a different perspective, is that we had a redistricting committee here in the state of California that was voted in by the voters. And it wasn't allowed to continue and to do its performance job, which means that the governor and the legislature that we currently have right now voted to circumvent that and allow Proposition 50 to go through. Now, it was voted on, but it wasn't done through the redistricting committee, which was in place. So it was a circumvention in that whole thing. As far as the voter ID, well, I don't have a lot of confidence in it. I just wanted to go ahead and show you this. This is my son's ballot right here. He hasn't lived in California for 9 years now. So do I question the process? Yes, I do. But ultimately, we need to revise it. We need to make sure that we hold everybody accountable and that the voting process and the integrity of that process is maintained. And we have to do that, and we have to do that soon. Thank you.
Sonia, same question to you about voting.
Thank you. So the Heritage Foundation, which is a very right-wing think tank, itself said that there was no significant voter fraud. It was like 0.00000%. In other words, maybe 40 times in the last 40 years. So it's a non-issue. Now, in terms of the Save America Act, what that will do is it will disenfranchise the people who vote democratically, mostly college students and women. They've changed their name. They may not have ID in their name. I don't know if any of you guys know where your birth certificate is. So this is just another assault on democracy and and this full administration's really attack on women's health, women's rights, and really a step backwards for this country.
Thank you, Jackie. If you could follow your views about American democracy, voting rights, suppression, gerrymandering.
Yeah, I think democracy is under attack, and we can see it with the 2 court decisions that happened. California and other democratic states did the right thing by having independent redistricting committees. And the Republican states did not follow suit. And now we see the end result that we are in a war to the bottom. We are not going to have representation. What happens in these voting rights areas is we make sure that we have representation from every different ethnic group, and that diversity is very important. I think it is critical that we pass something at the federal level to require independent redistricting throughout the entire country. I think it's critical that we overturn Citizens United, and I agree with my other colleagues. The voter ID law is a solution in search of a problem. We have not seen any significant amount of fraud in voting. It is a felony. Who is going to risk a felony to vote?
Thank you. Daniel, same question to you on voting rights and access.
So, wow. I don't think we should have redistricted this soon. I didn't support 50, and I support voter ID along with 70% of Californians. Now, with vote fraud and all that situation, it's not just people voting illegally. I mean, it's a big can of worms. I don't really want to open that can of worms right now, but there is problems with, machines, Dominion, Smartmatic, and that sort of thing. So, without further ado, I do want to, that'll be it for right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Sam, we'll wrap up with your views on voter suppression, gerrymandering, access, ID.
Well, I oppose gerrymandering completely, and the question is, what do the citizens want? It's amazing to me when the citizens want one thing and the politicians do something completely different. So 70% of the citizens want voter ID. So do we listen to the citizens, or we just say, no, we're not going to listen to citizens, we're going to do whatever we want to do? And listen, we should always make sure that we have voter integrity in our voting process. But one of the things that just bothers me about this whole process is let other states deal with their problems. We have enough problems of our own here, folks. And I don't think, here in California, we should be focusing on the issues of California. California should be first. Where California goes, the nation goes. And here in California, this issue is, we just need to continue to make sure that voting is integrous. I think everybody agrees with that. And if the citizens want voter ID, we should have voter ID. It's just that simple.
Thank you. So we're going to have to start closing statements soon, but how about a round of applause for these candidates? It's really not easy for them. They're up here, they've got 1 minute to try and answer these very thoughtful questions. So hats off to all of them for trying. And as I've been talking with the league at the other forums we're doing, something seems to be going on at The questions we have been receiving are very thoughtful, very intelligent, and I'm disappointed I can't get to more. But what I'd like to do is just inform the candidates of some of the other questions that we couldn't get to, so you know what's on these people's minds. So there was questions about gun violence, obviously very top of mind after the White House Correspondents' Dinner. Issues about transportation and gas prices. What about housing? What can you do at the federal level to bring down housing? There were questions also about education. No surprise with that. That is such an important part of our lives. Also questions about experience. And for candidates, as I mentioned these, if something triggers a thought with you, please share that during your closing statements. But many questions about candidates' experience and backgrounds. And also a lot of people are angry at the corruption that's going on. We've seen 3 or 4 members of Congress had to resign recently over various improprieties and sexual assault. So obviously people are upset about that. So I'm sorry I couldn't get to all those great questions. This is the process, and hopefully the candidates might stay a few minutes later and be able to mingle and talk with you. So with that, we're going to begin closing statements. Liam, you're up first. You have 1 minute.
Thank you again for everyone for coming tonight. I'm glad to see a good amount of people in the audience. And once again, thank you to the League of Women Voters for hosting this forum. The main things that matter to my campaign are all things that have affected my life and that are personal to me, such as the need for Medicare for all, such as the need to enact the Green New Deal in its entirety, as well as enacting universal child care and universal paid family and sick leave. We can do all these things by just cutting unnecessary funding to wars overseas that do not advance our interests at all, sending money to countries that are doing immoral things with it. We have issues at home that are in dire need of help. This can help it. Please support my campaign. Go to liamhernandezforcongress.com. Thank you, Oxnard.
Thank you. Our next candidate is Michael Kozlow.
Well, thank you again for allowing me to be here this evening, and I think it's a really important issue, multiple issues that we have to contend with. I have the experience, I have the knowledge. More importantly, the top priority that I have is accountability, is to make sure that we hold congressional leaders, public figures, public officials, those people that are dealing on a financial basis with your tax dollars. We don't want to be fraud payers, we want to be taxpayers. We don't mind doing that. But ultimately what it's going to come down to is holding everyone accountable in the bureaucracies at the city level, the county level, the state level, to make sure, and the federal level, and on an international basis is to hold our allies accountable for the funding, the billions of dollars that we spend over there. I have that experience, I have that knowledge. I'm going to work for you to make sure that those dollars are appropriately spent in the right areas at the right time. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next candidate is Daniel Miller.
So I'm Daniel Miller. I'm running for Congress. Please look at danielmillerforcongress.com. You can get some more information. Just some inside baseball. The Seattle Times left my name out. They didn't even call me a rotten candidate. They just totally left my name out, which looks like voter interference to me. Up there in Lancaster, Quartz Hills, I've had signs buried in the dirt, signs turned around. So I've experienced election interference already. It's true that we need to pay taxes. If you want to dance, you got to pay the fiddler. But Californians are being taxed at a dangerous level. I've talked to a lot of Californians that are leaving the state because they can't take the pressure, they can't take all the taxes. It's astounding, some of these property taxes. They want to tax Californians like, I mean, what are they going to do next? They've gone crazy in Sacramento, that's all I can say. And gas prices, yes, we're being gouged, we're being taken for a ride, and I got to get my ride. Thank you.
Thank you. And our next candidate is Chris Espinoza.
I want to thank you all for being here. Democracy survives with a well-informed citizenry, and you're demonstrating that by showing up today, and I'm so grateful for that. I am fighting to solve 3 crises in our community right now. Our fellow community members are working harder than ever and falling further and further behind by an oppressive cost of living. And I'm going to do everything that I can to address that cost of living, whether it's in healthcare or housing or childcare or public education. We also have a crisis of climate and environmental injustice, and that's not a theoretical problem, that's a today problem. We saw community members right here lose their houses as a result of wildfires that are increasing as a result of climate change. We can't solve either of those two crises unless we solve the crises of our democracy. And so that's why I refuse to take fossil fuel or corporate PAC money. I need your support to get there. Join us at espinosaforcongress.com. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next candidate is Sam Gallucci.
The state has been run by one party for 16 years, one party. Supermajority Democrat. The House, Democrat. So I ask you one question. Are you better off today than you were 16 years ago? Because every policy, every piece of legislation has come from that one party. We have the highest cost of, number 3, highest cost of living. That's over 430,000 pieces of legislation that drive those costs. We have among the worst education in our country. The issues that matter most to us are the issues that need to be addressed. I'm Sam Gallucci. I have a tech background and a business background to deal with complex issues. I've been a pastor actually working for people for the last 18 years, actually making a difference. I'm running because I believe if you think about it, we've been ignored. Our voice doesn't seem to matter. Our vote, well, even if it's something we vote for, hey, we're going to do whatever we want. And our values are under attack. Thank you for your support.
Thank you. Our next candidate is Jackie Irwin.
Thank you. I'm the daughter of immigrants who came here for a better life. I was the first person in my family to graduate from college when I graduated from UC San Diego. That afforded me opportunity. My husband and I were able to buy a house here and raise our 3 children here. And I want those opportunities available for my children and for all working families. In the Assembly, I focused on education and jobs, the economy, homelessness, mental health, and solving problems for our community. And that's why I'm overwhelmingly endorsed by a broad range of supporters, including labor, environmental groups, and many leaders right here in this community. And I hope I can count on your support also.
Thank you. Our next candidate is Sonia Kacker, right?
Yes.
Sorry about that. Sonia, you have a minute.
So
One second, Sonia. 1 minute. Thank you.
So we're in a moment of real crisis. I mean, we are in unprecedented times, and nobody on the stage has served in Congress before. So you have to think, what have we done to prepare for it? Let me tell you about my day. Every day I make complex decisions with limited time, incomplete information, immediate accountability that changes people's lives instantaneously and immediately. I hear from people exactly how decisions made in Congress are not working and not helping. And I think we need a different type of a voice, someone who has been on the ground, front line in this community for over 26 years and has this community's best interests at heart. I have no special interests. I have taken no money. I'm 100% grassroots. And if I have a lot of opinions on a lot of topics, you can follow me at drsoniaforcongress.com and you can hear more about my platform. But I think we need a different type of leadership and accountability in government.
Thank you. So candidates, I've got a couple of minutes. Just, if I make it 30 seconds, are you all willing to take a question on AI? 30 seconds, okay. So we're going to start off, Sam, you would be next. So we've got the timer set, 30 seconds. This is obviously a crucial issue. Artificial intelligence is affecting our world. Share with us high level your views for 30 seconds.
Absolutely. We need to embrace this technology and do it properly. I'm a tech pioneer. And when it comes to AI, we need not to be afraid of it. What we really need to do is what the California ingenuity has always done. From the back of a napkin, we have created some of the greatest companies that have actually changed the world. We need to develop AI architects that can harness this technology, and we need to create a whole new ecosystem of jobs. We need to start thinking outside the box, and AI is simply a human tool that was created to do that work. This has been my
Thank you,
my
sir.
MO for years. So that's what I believe.
Thank you. I know I'm hitting you all late, but Daniel, same question. 30 seconds on artificial intelligence.
So, right, artificial intelligence can be good. It's got some good aspects to it. But I don't really like it when I call. It can also be dangerous too. It can also be dangerous. And I don't like it when I call places and I can't get a live person, I just get a robot. You know, if you're not careful, it'll just create this huge net. Digital money, that's another problem I have with, that's really scary. LA is becoming a smart city. We need to be aware of that. Thank you.
Thank you. And Sonia, please share with us artificial intelligence thoughts.
So I think artificial intelligence is here, and it's a great tool when used appropriately. It can increase the efficiency and accessibility, and there's a lot of applications in medicine. So a lot of issues in medicine with increases the affordability issue is just the drowning in paperwork forms. So in that sense, it has helped to make it more efficient. It'd be better if it wasn't as regulated in terms of that we would need all this extra help to be able to just do our jobs. But it does help with efficiency and forms and other things like that, especially when you have to do several letters, fighting for your patients for insurance denials.
Thank you, Sonia. Michael, you're up next.
I think artificial intelligence is a great up-and-coming technology, but we, like any other new technology or industry, we need to make sure that we're implementing it in a way that doesn't take away and doesn't cost the community major problems. The data centers that we have now take a lot of power, and right now with the PSP programs that Southern California Edison has, the power shutoff issues, we can't afford to have that, not have that infrastructure in place before we put the cart before the horse. We don't want to do that.
Thank you. Jackie?
Yeah, this is a really big issue. I have been on the NCSL, I've been the co-chair of the NCSL Committee on AI, Cybersecurity, and Privacy. I have run the first bill on AI transparency. There is a lot of opportunity in AI, but when you do surveys of the American public, they are getting more and more skeptical, and that's because they are concerned about jobs. So I think AI has endless possibilities, but we also need to have a master plan on how we deal with the potential job loss, and we have to have appropriate guardrails.
Thank you. And Liam, your thoughts on artificial intelligence?
I support it. It needs to be regulated and controlled properly. I use it in my small business. Like many people know, small businesses don't have a lot of resources, but especially in California, where anybody can sue anybody without putting any proof, I use it to respond to small claims court. Instead of keeping a lawyer on retainer for 30 grand, I save a lot of money. I can put things better back into the community. It's good if it's regulated and used properly.
Thank you. Chris will wrap up with you this time, definitely.
I think big tech companies promise the world with AI, and mostly what we get are AI slop photos with Donald Trump on the cover as Jesus or something. AI poses a real risk to communities right now, not tomorrow. This country was on the decline for nearly 40 years of energy load growth. That is now exponentially going through the roof, and it's going to cause you, the ratepayers, to pay more. It's going to cause water to be more expensive, and it puts us all at risk. It needs to be regulated and not by the people who are taking their money.
All right, thank you. And who knows, a couple of years, probably there'll be an AI robot sitting here doing this thing. That could probably be replaced. So again, how about a round of applause for the candidates? Just want to also take a moment to thank our volunteers and also take a moment to thank Pacifica High School and the Oxnard Union High School District for allowing us to be here tonight and supporting us. How about a round for that? From the Delta Sigma Theta organization, volunteers, Helene Stallion, Camiska Fontes, Lakeisha White, you met, Jamie Hill, Cynthia Gonzalez. How about a round for our DST friends? And from the League volunteers tonight, Pat Butler, Cheryl Collard, who you met up here on the stage, Pat Belt, Pam Quicklow, Pat and Roger Essick, Carol Lindberg, Susan King Robb, Carmen Hurd, Kay Armstrong, Kathy and Wayne Morgan. So you can see it takes a lot to put this on. How about a round for them as well? And if you happen to look at your watch, it's exactly 8:30, and that's always my goal, to end on time. So I'm David Marin. Thank you all for coming tonight. We'll have this up on the website within a couple of days. Thank you.